I know today and tomorrow are going to be extremely busy. So prayerfully and hopefully we won't be in this meeting long, and this will be our last one before we start taking up House bills again. So again, thank you all for coming on an early day today. The first bill that we're going to take up today is on your list is Senate Bill 2051. And this is to extend the repealer on the drug and alcohol program that we're currently partnering with Bolivar County Regional Facility. I just want to, until I can get some more concrete numbers, is to ask for a reverse repealer on this till we get the other numbers so that we can continue to work with Bolivar County on this repealer that we have before us today. Is there any questions by the committee? It's in the big package. So if there's no question, we have a motion.
Committee sub.
It is title sufficient. It's a committee sub. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes carry. Thank you. The next one that we're gonna skip around here today. The next one that we have is Senate Bill 2243, which is a private contractor for correctional service rate shall be based on the classification of inmates. And basically what this bill is that, inmates have different custody level where we have A custody, B custody, and C custody, and that depends on their level of crimes and things that they've done. And so what we're asking here is that for all of our facilities that are like that, then the inmates that are housed there shall be paid according, the facility shall be paid according to the classification of the person that's being housed there. And this doesn't change the amount that we're supposed to pay them by law, because it's supposed to be 10% less than what we paying anyone. So all that stays the same. It's just to make sure that we are paying by classification. And I'm open for any discussions if there is anybody committee. If not, do I have a motion? It's been by Senator Thomas. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. The next bill we're going to do is Senate Bill 2360, and we're going to ask Senator Barrett to explain the bill.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a bill dealing with escaped inmates. And what it would do is require that the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, local law enforcement be immediately notified of an inmate or detainee escaped. As it presently stands, Mr. Chairman, I think Section 3 places a fine or imposes a civil penalty for failing to do so. When the time is right, I would make a motion that we take those fines and fees out.
It's proper time for an amendment, and what would your amendment be?
That we remove Section 3. Failing to comply would cost $1,000 for a first offense, $2,500 for a second offense, and $5,000 for a third or subsequent offense.
Okay, we have an amendment on the floor. All in favor of this amendment, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The amendment passes. Now we're back on the bill as amended. Do we have a motion? Senator Barrett?
I make a motion title sufficient do pass. It's amended.
Committee sub.
Committee sub, yeah.
The motion is title sufficient as amended, committee sub. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes carry. Thank you. We're going to go down now, look at Senate Bill 2704. And there may be, if you look on the last page of your sheet there, Senate Bill 2704. For those of you who are also on public health, this bill was passed out of public health, and now we have it. And basically what it is, we had Dr. Edney, he was at the public health hearing, and he testified on the importance of making sure that all of our Mississippians are in healthy condition, and this also entails the people who are incarcerated. So he felt the same as we do, is that it is important that Department of Health also inspects our infirmary there at Parchman as well, to make sure that it is doing what it's supposed to do, so that those people who have to go there for medical service are getting the very best, like we want those who will go to any of our hospitals to get the very best care also. And so what this bill is to make is to let the Department of Health be able to inspect it and then give us the report on their findings, just like they do our other medical facilities. That's simply what the bill does. Is there any questions from anyone on the committee? If there's no questions, do we have a motion? The motion is time sufficient. Do pass. All in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye. All opposed? Ayes carry. Let's see. The next bill we're going to look at is Senate Bill 2395. Senate Bill 2395. And this bill is the reimbursement of medical expenses provided to the inmates, and that the claims shall be submitted in an amount equal to the Medicaid reimbursement rate. So basically what we're saying is that if those people who are incarcerated or sent out for medical services, then the doctor's rates or the bill rate should be that at the Medicaid rate. And that's been a problem because some of them have not. Then we have to send it back, and it's going back and forth and back and forth. So we just want to make sure that those services that do qualify under that are billed at the Medicaid rate. And of course, this bill has, when it leaves us, then it goes to insurance as well. Senator Hill?
Does this have any regard to what kind of assets an inmate may have? Is there any income verification or anything on an inmate before we bill Medicaid? Because we know rich people and poor people get incarcerated.
No, man. No, well, when you become part of MDOC system, then it's neither rich nor poor.
Well, you might still have a bank account waiting for you when you get out. That was my initial thought.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to pay somebody's medical claims if they got dollars in the bank somewhere. I just think asset verification needs to go along with it, no matter if they're an inmate or not.
Well, like I said, this is also referred to insurance as well. So yes, ma'am.
I was just going to make a comment about what Senator Hill asked, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
In the 2.5, 3 years I was on the parole board, I only remember one inmate that was wealthy. He had a number of health problems, but his family picked up the check.
Thank you, Senator Chazanon, for that. But that's an explanation of the bill, just to make sure that they are that the gosh, I drew up Senator Hill. You got me drawing a brain freeze. That the reimbursement is at the Medicaid rate. I'm sorry. So that's right. We have to pay it one way or the other. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed? Ayes carry. Thank you. Now we'll move back up towards the top at Senate Bill 2233. And this is just a study on dyslexia. And we have Senator Hickman here to explain the bill.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, senators. So what basically it's 2233 does, it acts that the Mississippi Department of Corrections would conduct a study regarding the prevalence of dyslexia in inmates under their custody. The reason this is because a lot of states around us, including Louisiana and Texas, have done this. They've been able to study dyslexia in prison and be able to better educate, better provide services to the inmates that are there, and it has reduced their recidivism. Now, I'm going to ask, once I'm done explaining this bill for reverse repealer, we're still working on the numbers at what this would cost MDLC. But it is my understanding that they are currently updating some of their IT programs, which will include the ability for them to just record which inmates have dyslexia, which ones, what have you, and input other information. I said that to say I think the cost would be at a minimum. And so at this time, I'll take any questions. And Mr. Chair, of course, I have a motion at the appropriate time.
It's now the appropriate time.
I move to add a reverse repealer to Senate Bill 2233.
Thank you. There's a motion to add a reverse repealer to said legislation. All in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye. All opposed? Now we're back on the original bill. Is there any question to Senator Hickman? If not, thanks for a motion. No,
I'm not on committee.
as amended. Committee sub, I'm sorry. The motion is title sufficient. Do pass committee sub. All in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye. All opposed? Ayes, carried. Thank you, Senator Hickman. Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
you're welcome. Thank you. Now we'll go to the heel of the agenda today. No, I'm sorry, we won't take that one. We'll go to Senate Bill 2235. Well, I'm sure, I'm hoping that you keep me good scratch off on that.
Get their check, we passed it.
Okay, thank you. 2235, probation and parole officers to move them from under the Department of Correction and transfer them to the Department of Public Safety. And I know some probably asking why we're wanting to do this. But the purpose is that we feel like those people that are sworn law enforcement officers should be exactly that, sworn law enforcement officers. And I think that those people who are serving on probation or parole will respond better knowing that there are actually law enforcement officers that are doing the job. It also redefines probation and parole officers. Again, like I said, it's sworn law enforcement office under Mississippi Department of Public Safety. And this transfers the administration, employment, and supervision of probation and parole officers from the Department of Corrections to the Mississippi Department of Public Safety. It established a new division of community corrections with Mississippi Department of Public Safety to oversee probation and parole. And it also amends multiple sections of Mississippi Code to reflect changes in authority, responsibility, and reporting structures related to probation and parole supervision. And it authorizes a joint rulemaking between MDOC and Mississippi Department of Public Safety during the transition. So that's the reason why we think it's important to move Department of Parole and Probation, not the parole officers or the parole board, but those officers under Mississippi Department of Public Safety. So do we have any questions from Senator Chazanel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Has this been requested by the Department of Corrections or by the Department of Public Safety? Have they been consulted on this?
I've talked to the Department of Corrections and I've talked to Commissioner Tindall as well.
And they think it's a good idea?
Yes. Senator Thomas, you had a question?
Have any studies been made? Have we really looked at this?
We haven't,
this
no,
bill, and how much it's gonna cost? I have,
this,
you know,
this,
questions
there's not a
about that.
cost because those individuals now who are employed, by Department of Corrections, who are probation and parole officers, would just change, would just move over to the department. So there's actually no cost in this. We just moving monies.
But if they're not a certified officer, then they would lose, wouldn't they?
Most
be
of your
out job?
probation officers are certified officers.
That's what I'm saying, why they couldn't continue.
Because what and another problem that we're having too is that, you know, MDOC and the budget that they have is huge. And we're realizing that a lot of our probation and parole officers can't really get out there and do their job because they're having to fill in at our facilities where we're running short at.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Hill.
My question would be, when probation and parole officers, since I've been on this committee, I was on it way back, first got here, and then I was off of it, now I'm back on it. I've been told that parole and probation officers many times fill in for corrections when they're short. And so that we know they're short. And that's one of the reasons why you want to do what you want to do with state penitentiary. So my question is, what are we going to do if we move these to DPS and then they can't go back and they're not filling in for corrections officers because they're working for a different agency? That's going to make a logistical problem that we can't interchange those probation and parole officers when they're not needed on the street to be able to go fill in for corrections officers. That's a concern I have.
Well, and I understand your concern, but we need to realize too, Senator Hill, is that if they're not doing the job that they are paid to do, then we can't really hold them accountable for things that's not happening either in said job. So what I'm saying is that if you are a probation or parole officer, how can you effectively do your job when you are over here doing another job? And so that's, I mean, you know, this is not easy, but MDOC is gonna have to make sure that they have the people in place to do the job so that so that everybody else can be protective and doing their job as well. And you know, you and I have talked about this a lot, where we have people doing things that they shouldn't be doing. That's because a lot of things are not happening, whether they're supervised, where they're supposed to be, or reporting like they're supposed to be, and these type of things. So we're just trying to make sure that we can get all of these things in place and make sure that we're doing our job on this side.
I understand that. I'm just concerned about what happens when we're short inside those facilities and we have nobody to move from one place to another to fill that void. And, you know, things get out of hand already because we're short on people. So that would be my concern. I appreciate your explanation.
Thank you. Senator Sparks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the nuances of this is, as I understand it, is parole and probation officers are sworn law enforcement already. That distinguishes them from other employees, correctional officers within the Department of Corrections. In addition, many of those parole and probation officers are on the go team or the strike team that has to go in if there's an issue at the facilities. I think they could continue to do that because there are also members of DPS currently on highway patrol and other capacities that are part of those same go and strike teams. So I think it can be worked out where if there is an immediate need for some issue, an uprising, if you will, I think that will still be available, which is probably part of Senator Hill's concern. Versus someone who's just sitting on the gate because I'm short-staffed, which is what some of the parole and probation officers are doing. But I think the key issue is that they're already sworn law enforcement officers, and we're trying to put them with other sworn law enforcement officers. Is that fair?
Yes, sir. And also, Senator Hill, I'm sorry, but but there is a 2-year phase in, so this is not an automatic. So we are giving time to make sure that we cover as many gaps as we have to, you know, before this happens. And that was done out of concern from others too, to make sure that we do allow time for this to happen.
Well, I'm not saying I'm happy how it's working right now
Okay.
because I do get a lot of complaints. So maybe this will remedy some of those if it does work.
Thank you, Senator Senator Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've spoken to multiple local probation parole officers at the community corrections level, and they are very supportive of this. And a lot of that has to come from they feel like their pay isn't where it needs to be. And I think we passed several years ago the squared bill and the SEC squared, and everybody was supposed to be up to the minimum or the average anyway. They felt like they weren't. And my local agents are really excited about this.
Thank you, Senator Barrett. Is there any other questions from anyone on the committee? If there's not any questions by any committee, Senator Chazanov.
Mr. Chairman, would you be opposed to putting a reverse repealer into this? It's an awful lot in this bill, and it seems to me it might take a little more time to study. I mean, I don't want to kill the bill. I was just thinking if we could put a reverse repealer in it to keep it moving forward.
I'm not opposed to a reverse.
Okay, well, that's my motion then, sir.
Okay, so we have a motion that reverse repealer. All in favor, let it be known by sign of aye. All opposed, ayes carried. Now Senator Chazanov for motion.
Title sufficient to pass as amended, committee sub.
We've heard the motion. All in favor, let it be known by sign of aye. All opposed, ayes carried. Thank you. The next bill that we have is Senate Bill 2359. Senator Sparks, I'll allow Senator Sparks to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bringing forward the code section. I apologize. I thought the small change was in here, but I'll make sure and have that as we come to the floor. So we're actually just passing code section. The intent of the legislation and the change that will be in the floor substitute is that a plea into intervention court is not a violation, a technical violation or a violation of parole. And the way this works, if I'm on parole and I'm arrested for a new crime, the parole board at that time may revoke me. They may have a hearing and revoke me. But if they did not revoke me, or they have revoked me with a technical violation and I've served my time based on the arrest, particularly if it's a drug-related crime and I had to wait 18 months to get a drug crime report on the drug so I could be indicted, but I am accepted and qualify into an intervention court. The judge wants me to plead in, but if I'm on parole currently, that could be a violation again. So no new crime has been committed, but the actual plea would go back in front of the parole board. And that's a concern I'm hearing from some of our intervention court judges. So it does not take away the parole board's authority to revoke me on the arrest. It's just that if after the arrest and indictment or information, if I'm accepted into and want to plead into drug court, that actual plea is not a revocable offense. That is what the, I guess I would say that is what the floor amendment or what the intention of bringing these code sections for, Mr. Chairman. I yield to any questions.
Thank you. Is there any questions by anyone on the committee? Senator Chazanov, I see your light is on. You have a question?
That light was left on, but as I understand what Senator Sparks is saying, this is to be sure that the inmate gets the fairest treatment possible. Is that correct?
That is correct. After they've already had an opportunity to decide if they want to revoke him on the arrest.
Well, I think that's commendable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if
Thank you. Is
if
there
it's
any-
proper, I'd make a motion at the proper time.
Motion is proper time.
Title sufficient to pass.
Motion is title sufficient do pass. All in favor, let it be known by sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes carried. Last one that we're going to take up today is Senate Bill 2240, and it should have been in a separate packet of what you had in front of you. And this is a data bill to where MDOC has to do some significant and major upgrades to their data reporting, how it's collected, and we've talked about this for, I think some of you all have been on the committee before or have been to certain hearings, know that we need to start doing a better job. When I say we, I mean MDOC, on the data and stuff that is collected and how it's collected and information that, how we give things, how things would be shared across systems. And we do know that the system that they have over there now is way outdated. And as you can see in this piece of legislation right here on section 1, the very first thing that it says that this is subject to appropriation. So when it leaves here, then it has to go through the appropriation process as well. And also, I'm going to ask for a reverse repealer in this legislation as well. Just like Senator Chazanard said earlier on some other things, we want to make sure that we get the numbers in line where they are. But again, there's no guarantees that this will make it out of appropriations, but just wanted to offer that at the proper time as well, is that, there will be a reverse repealer added to this. But again, this is identifying, all information to include your name, your data, your birthday, and all of these kind of things that we know that are important. And I think Senator Sparks can also agree with me on this one, that, after multiple hearings and things that we have, it's sad that when we take in somebody and they may spend 4 or 5 years in the Department of Corrections, and when they are to be released, they still don't have a birth certificate. So all of these things that should be done up on entry, we should be making sure that those kind of things, and that's what this does, make sure that when we start collecting things, and we want to make sure that we got it right, so that when these people leave, then what they don't have is not a fault of ours, but we want to make sure that we get it right on the front end. And that's really the gist of this legislation, is make sure that we collect as much as we can so that we can do the best that we can when it's time for those people to be released from our Department of Correction, basically. Senator Hill, you have a question or a comment?
I
hope
do.
it's a suggestion.
Well, it's suggestion is we do all this, because all this stuff, wouldn't you agree, needs to be in the case file anyway, especially when the parole board goes to look at this person.
Exactly.
And would you be surprised that, I think all of us probably have an inmate that's a family member that's been an inmate or dealt with MDOC. Would you be surprised that I had to get a birth certificate, Social Security? If we want them to go to work, they got to have some paperwork, and they will release them without this, because I can assure you that happened. And how many people have a relative that they can call in the state Senate and say, look, what do I got to do? Okay. So I even had to call DPS, had to call Vital Records. I had to do all the legwork that should have been done before this person was released, because they're released with no way to have any paperwork to go to work.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there is I do like to offer reverse repealer, and that's what be my motion, is to offer reverse repealer. All in favor, let it be known by sign of aye. All opposed? So Senator Hills, I'm gonna ask you for a motion. I'm done, yes, ma'am.
Rise and report.
No. Not that, not that was it. A motion on the bill, Senator.
Motion is title sufficient to be passed committee sub.
Thank you. The motion is, House official past committee, so all in favor, let it be known by sign of aye. All opposed? Senator Hill, motion?
Rise and report this time.
Thank you. That was it, wasn't it?
I didn't mean to leave the light up. I thought I was just a big man.